In this class, we shall derive the expression for the potential energy of system of 2-point charges in the absence of electric field. This is first derivation. Second derivation is expression for the potential energy of system of again 2-point charges but in the presence of electric field. That is second derivation. And the third one is deriving the expression for the electric potential at a point due to an electric dipole. We already derived the expression for electric potential at a point due to a single charge, isolated charge. But today we derive the expression for the electric potential at a point due to dipole. Let us come across now all these derivations one after the other. The first one is expression for potential energy of a system of 2-point charges in the absence of electric field. So what I do means, I consider now the 2 points A and B separated by a distance R12. Why should I use the subscript 12? It has no physical significance. 12 subscript is used just to indicate that it is the distance between the first charge and the second charge, because we place the first charge at the point A and the second charge at the point B. So between the first and second charge the distance is R12. Now let us consider a point of infinity. What is meant by point of infinity? It is a point where electric field is equal to 0. At this point, now I imagine 2 charges, Q1 and as well as Q2. First, let us know about what is meant by potential energy of system of charges. See, potential energy of system of charges means it is nothing but work done in bringing the charge from infinity to the respective position. Total work done, a system of charges. Okay. Suppose if I bring the charge Q1 from the point of infinity to the point A, then what is the work done? Find out. We will find it out. Next, we bring the charge Q2 again from the point of infinity to the point B. For that, what's the amount of work done? Let us find out that also. Then finally, if we add the total work done in bringing the charge from infinity to the point A, respective points means A and B are the respective points or locations. Total work done in bringing Q1 from infinity to A and Q2 from infinity to B is nothing but the potential energy of system of charges. Okay, so that's the definition. Mathematically, it is given by, look here, potential energy U is nothing but charge in which we bring from infinity to the respective point multiplied by the potential. So U equal to charge Q multiplied by potential means total potential. So this is how we find the potential energy of any individual charge by using this equation. Why should I bring the charges from infinity to the respective position? To set up the system of 2 charges, system of 3 charges or system of n charges. I want to arrange certain number of charges in a group at the different distances or at different points. For that, what amount of work we do totally to bring all the charges to their respective positions from infinity, that is nothing but potential energy of system of charges. Now, what's the work done? Bringing the charge Q1 from infinity to the point A. Look here, I shift the charge from infinity to point A. Here in this case, work done is 0. Why work done is 0? Because work is done always against to the electric field. Before bringing the charge q1 to the point A, there was no electric field either at the point A or at the point B or in between any point, in between A and B at any point no field exists before bringing this charge. So therefore, when there is no field at all, what's the work done? No need to do the work. That's why I say that work done before bringing this, no charge exists at the point A, so no electric field, that's why work done is 0. Next, once you place the charge q1 here, now there will be electric field. So this is the direction of electric field. Due to this charge at the point B, now I can calculate the potential. So, potential at B due to q1 at A. How do you find the potential due to an isolated charge? In the previous class, we derived the expression for that. Now, I call that potential as V. V is the potential at the point B due to the charge q1 given by 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught q1 divided by R12. What is R12? R12 is the distance of separation between A and B, at which the two charges are placed. Now you bring the second charge. First charge is already shifted. Now I shift the second charge to the point B. Okay. Here, while shifting the second charge, certainly some amount of work should be done while shifting from infinity to B, because electric field is existing because of the charge q1. So you are moving the charge means you are bringing the charge against to the electric field by applying some external force on the charge q2. So this is the external force you are applying on the charge q2 to bring it from infinity to the point B. Certainly work should be done on this charge to overcome this electric field or to overcome the force of repulsion. What is that work done? Let us find out work done in bringing the charge q2 from infinity to the point B. I represent that work done by W2 equal to charge into potential. What is the charge you are bringing? You are bringing the charge Q2, or else we shall write it clearly, charge into potential. Potential where? At B due to the charge at A. So, we are bringing the charge Q2 from infinity to the point B. Then, at the point B, potential is this into V. So, this is the work done only to bring the charge Q2. This is not the total work done. Now, what is the total work done in setting up the system of two charges? Total work done is W equal to W1 plus W2. So, W1 is already 0. What is W2? Q2 into V. What is V? We know V as equal to 1 over, first shall write Q2, then V is 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 divided by R12. So, finally, W equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R12. this work is stored in the form of potential energy, in the system of charges, and this potential energy is given by U. That means I am going to replace W by U. If I do so, then what happens to this equation? W becomes U equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R12. So this is the final expression for the potential energy of system of two charges in the absence of electric field. Now we shall derive the second equation, which is nothing but potential energy of a system of 2 point charges in the presence of electric field. Previous one is in the absence of electric field. So once again I choose like this, 2 points A and B separated by distance R1, 2. Let E be the electric field. There is an electric field E already existing even before bringing the charges. That is why we say that in the presence of electric field. But how does this electric field arises? We have to imagine that there is some charge kept on this side, or there may be a charged body due to which an electric field is existing here. So like that we have to imagine or assume, because electric field by itself do not arise. There must be some external source to produce the electric field. That is nothing but either a charge or a charged body, because of which the field is existing here. Once again, I imagine at the point of infinity where electric field equal to 0, there two charges are kept, Q1 and Q2. Now, at the point A, let VA be the potential, and at the point B, VB be the potential. Since field is there, potential also exists at the point A, at the point B. No field, then potential VA is 0 and VB is 0. So initially, before bringing the charge itself, we have considered the electric field and we take the potential at the point A and B as equal to VA and VB due to this electric field. What's the work done in bringing the charge Q1 from infinity to the point A? Here, while bringing this, certainly work should be done. Remember, because electric field is there. So work done in bringing the charge Q1 from infinity to the point A against to this electric field, is given by work done in bringing the charge Q1 from infinity to A against the electric field, E is given by W1. This is not 0, field is there. W1 is equal to charge in which you are moving or bringing multiplied by potential at A. What is the charge in which you are moving? Q1. What is the potential at the point A? VA. Or else I can assume the potential at the point A as V1 and potential at the point B as V2. Q1 into potential at A is V1. So this amount of work need to be done in bringing the charge Q1 from infinity to the point A. So we shifted one charge. Let us now remove this. Now at the point B, remember only one potential is not existing. Along with this potential, one more potential arises at B because of the placement of the charge Q1 at A. So therefore at B, what is the total potential? Total potential is nothing but V2 plus potential due to the charge Q1. Let us find out the potential at the point B due to this charge Q1. So what is the potential at B due to charge Q1 at A? And it is given by the formula V dash. I call this as V dash because V1 and V2 are already used. V dash equal to basic formula 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught. What is the charge placed here? Q1 divided by B is at what distance from this charge or from the point A? It is at a distance R12. So if I am finding the potential at the point B, then I must consider the distance of the point B from the charge Q1. So Q1 divided by R12. So this is the potential at B due to Q1. Now what is total potential? Total potential at B is equal to V2 plus V dash. Okay, V2 plus V dash. Now let us shift the second charge Q2 from infinity to the point B. Again, while shifting the charge Q2, once again work should be done against this electric field. Charge into total potential at B. So charge we are shifting is Q2, total potential is V2 plus V dash. Okay. Now Q2 I write that as it is V2 plus V dash means 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 divided by R12. 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 divided by R12. Okay. This is nothing but the work done in shifting the second charge from infinity to the point B. So this charge is also shifted now. What's the total work done in shifting the charge Q1 and Q2 to the respective locations or to the respective points A and B? That total work done is nothing but W equal to W1 plus W2. And this total work done will be stored once again in the system of charges, that means in both the charges, as electric potential energy. Total work done is given by W equal to W1 plus W2. This is equal to W1 is V1 into Q1 plus W2 means Q2 into V2 plus 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 divided by R12. Let us now multiply this. That means I multiply V2 by Q2 so that it will be V2 into Q2, or else I can write this like this: Q2 into V2, let it be in order, Q1 to V1, then Q2 into this, plus Q2 is there, plus into plus is plus, Q2 into this means 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R12. See, this is the total work done in forming a system of two charges A and B in the presence of electric field. But this total work done will be stored in the form of potential energy in the system of charges. So this work, total work, is stored as electric potential energy in the system of charges. System of charges. That means what I do now? I replace this total work done W by U. So if I replace this W by U, then what do I get now? U equal to Q1 V1 plus Q2 V2 Q2 V2 plus 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R12. So this work can be replaced by the potential energy. So this is the expression for the potential energy of system of two charges in the presence of electric field. Remember, only this term gives the potential energy of system of two charges in the absence of electric field. Along with this, if we include these two, Q1 V1 plus Q2 V2, then it becomes the potential energy of the system of 2 point charges Q1 and Q2 in the presence of electric field. So that's the difference. Suppose if I consider like this, if R1 and R2 are the position vectors of Q1 and Q2 respectively with respect to some origin O. That means I am going to choose one of the point as the origin somewhere in the premises of these two charges. Say for example, I may consider O as the origin. Now suppose if Q1 is the position vector of the charge with respect to this origin, if R1 is the position vector, let us represent that like this. R1 is the position vector of this charge Q1 with respect to this point O. I mark like this, I put the arrow in this direction. Then if R2 becomes the position vector of the charge Q2 with respect to some origin. In the diagram, no need to mention this. Simply if we write one sentence, it is over. That means, what's the purpose of considering the position vector here? We know that electric potential is a scalar quantity, potential energy is also scalar quantity. In order to show that this potential energy varies if the distance varies, that means potential is dependent on the distance, that is what we have to show. If potential varies with distance, naturally the potential energy also varies. In order to show that how this potential depends on the distance, simply we are introducing the position vector terms. R1, R2 position vector of the charge Q2, R1 position vector of the charge Q1 with respect to some origin. Then how can I write this equation? I change this equation like this. Now therefore, U becomes equal to Q1 V1 R1. Okay, V1 to R1 plus Q2 V2 R2. Q2 V2 into R2, then this remains as it is, no change in this term. I write like this, 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R12. Now we shall derive one more equation for the electric potential at a point, an arbitrary point, due to an electric dipole. I consider electric dipole means which consists of two charges, equal and opposite charges separated by a very small distance. What will be the distance of separation? Usually the distance of separation is taken as equal to 2a between these two charges. Okay. Now, let O be the midpoint of the electric dipole. And what will be this distance? Now, this distance will be equal to A. This will be A, and again this distance will be also equal to A, because A plus A is equal to 2A. So, let the negative charge be kept at the point B, whereas the positive charge be kept at the point A. Now, I choose one arbitrary point from this electric dipole. Say for example, I am going to choose a point P here. Let this point P be at a distance R1 from the charge plus Q kept at A. Similarly, let the same point P from the negative charge Q kept at B be at a distance be at a distance R2. Now, I join the midpoint of the dipole with the point P. Like this, and let R be the position vector of the point P with respect to the midpoint O of the electric dipole. So, since it is a position vector, I put one arrow potential at the point P due to the charge Q. Electric potential at P due to plus Q, due to the charge plus Q is given by, we know the formula for electric potential due to an isolated charge. What is the formula? V equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon Q by R. So, V1 equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught due to the charge Q, due to the charge plus Q. The potential at the point P is 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by, what is the distance of the charge Q from the point P? It is R1. Similarly, what is the potential at the point P due to the negative charge minus Q? Electric potential at P due to minus Q given by V2 equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by R2, but don't forget to consider negative sign, because here remember one thing, if you are finding the vector quantities like electric field and the electrostatic force, no need to consider the nature of the charge, that means sign of the charge, because both electric field and force are vector quantities. Whereas while finding a scalar quantity like electric potential, sign plays an important role, therefore sign should be taken into consideration. Here it is due to positive charge, I have not written, and it is obvious. Since it is, this potential is due to negative charge, so compulsorily write minus sign here. Then according to the principle of superposition, what is the net potential at the point P due to these two charges? Net potential at P is given by V equal to V1 plus V2. What is this V1? V1 is 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught, V2 is 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught, Q is also there common. So, I remove Q and 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught as common terms. Then what is left here? 1 by R1 is left. Then here in this case minus 1 by R2 is left. So this is the total potential, where at the point P due to this dipole. So let us make it clear. Okay. Now, by geometry of the figure, what can I write means, I use the cosine rule. That means I want to find the value of R1. So I write like this: R1 square equal to this side square equal to, remember, this side square plus this side square. So it is R square. This side square means it is A square. Okay. And this side, what is the magnitude of this position vector R? Magnitude of position vector R can be simply written as R. Okay. So OP equal to R gives the magnitude of position vector R. So therefore, this side square plus this side square means plus R square. Then I write minus 2 AR into cos theta. What is this? This is written according to cosine rule by geometrical method. But theta means what? Theta is the angle between the direction of dipole moment and the position vector R. So theta is the angle between the position dipole moment P and the position vector R. So this is for R1. Similarly, what I can write for R2? Similarly, R2 can be, that means this side can be found out once again by using the cosine rule formula itself, that means by geometry, as A square, okay, this side square plus this side square, magnitude of R square, okay, then minus 2AR into cos of 180 minus theta. Here if it is theta, then this angle will be 180 minus theta. Why? Total angle of this straight line, that means dipole axis, minus Q plus Q. So this is O. What should be this total angle? It should be equal to 180 degree. So already theta is there. With this theta, if I add 180 minus theta plus theta minus theta cancels, then we get the total angle as equal to 180 degree. But what is cos of 180 minus theta? It is nothing but equal to cos of 180 minus theta. It is nothing but equal to minus cos theta. So finally this becomes A square plus R square plus 2AR cos theta. So this is for R2. So R1 is A square plus R square minus, here A square plus R square plus 2AR cos theta. Next, consider this equation. What I do means, now I am going to remove R square outside. So if I remove R square outside from this equation, what do we get now? R1 square equal to, I am removing R square, then here we get A square by R square. Here R square is not existing as common, but still we have removed it out as a common factor, because you multiply this, if you multiply this by this, R square gets cancelled, then we get back A square. Then plus plus is there, r square is taken out, then 1 is left. Minus you write as it is, 2. Here r square is taken out, here only r is there. So when one r gets cancelled, then what is left out here now? 2a divided by r into cos theta. You can check this by multiplying with this. R square into this means 1r and r gets cancelled, then we get 2a r into cos theta. That is what we have here, 2a r cos theta. Let us rewrite this in order. R square, r1 square equal to r square, I write the factor 1 first, plus a square by r square minus 2a by r into cos theta. Here we know that magnitude of r is very large when compared to a. So this distance is large when compared to this small distance a. Therefore, in this equation, what I can do means I can neglect the terms other than a by r. That means I retain only the first order term. Why it is called as first order term? You look into the power is 1 for both a and r. Here the powers are 2 for a and as well as r. Therefore, this is first order term and this is second order term. Since a is very small compared to r, I can neglect a square by r square. Don't neglect a by r, because a by r is associated with other factors like 2 cos theta, whereas here a square by r square is independent. And moreover, if r becomes very large, since a is very small, if r becomes very large and already square is there, so overall this ratio becomes further small, too small. That is why we neglect this, not a by r in this term. So if we do so, then what we get now? We can write like this: a square by r square is neglected since a is very much less than r. So what happens to this equation now? It becomes now r1 square equal to, here what is there? R square is there, r square into 1 plus, I have neglected this term now. So what is left here? Minus 2a by r, 2a plus into minus 2a by r into cos theta. Now I want to find the ratio 1 by r1. So what I do means, I apply the square root to both sides. R, what is r1 equal to? R1 equal to root of this. R1 square is there. If I find only r1, then r1 will be equal to root of this, means root of r square is r. Then for this, instead of writing the square root, what I do means I write the power as half, one and the same. Instead of writing the root here, root to this, I write its power as half. Next, I write the reciprocal of this entire equation, means 1 over r1 equal to 1 divided by r into 1 minus 2a by r into cos theta whole to the power of half. Then I am going to separate out this. This is 1 over r1 equal to 1 by r. I shift this term which is carrying the power from denominator to numerator. If I shift this from denominator to numerator, it becomes 1 minus 2a by r into cos theta whole to the power of minus half, plus half when goes to numerator becomes minus half. We have already one equation. Let us call this as equation 1. Let us now simplify this further. How means, I use one theorem, binomial theorem, to expand this, there is one formula. What's the formula I use means, see, the formula in which I am going to use here is 1 minus x whole to the power of n equal to 1 minus nx plus nx square minus nx cube, okay, then plus dash dash dash, it continues like that. What is that you can observe here? So the power of x is continuously increasing. Initially only factor 1 will be there, then n is common and minus plus it appears like that. So power of x continuously increases by 1. If I use this formula to expand this, 1 over r1 equal to 1 by r, okay, into 1 minus 2a, here in place of 1 is there. In place of x, what is there? In place of x, 2a by r cos theta is there. In place of n, what is there? Minus half is there. Apply this formula to simplify this. 1 by r, 1 minus x, x means, use the formula 1 minus n into x, n means power, which is equal to half. So I use a square bracket, minus half, 1 is written, minus is written, n. What is the power n here? Power n is half, minus half I have written. Then I have to write x. What is x here? X is nothing but, what is the value? 1 minus 2a by r cos theta. In this 2a by r cos theta is the value of x, not the entire bracket term, only this much, 2a by r cos theta. So I write this as 2a by r into cos theta. Next terms I am not, remaining terms I am not going to write, because using this condition I am going to restrict only to the first order term, that is x to the power of 1. I do not need the higher order term like x square and x3. Therefore, I stop writing, or I restrict myself only to the first order term. So accordingly, we have this equation. So this is 1 by r, 1 minus into minus plus, 2 and 2 gets cancelled. So a by r into cos theta. Okay. Now let us multiply this. 1 by r into 1 is nothing but 1 by r. A by r cos theta into 1 by r plus a by r square into cos theta. So this is 1 by r1. So we simplified r1 square into 1 by r1. Similarly, we can simplify the equation of r2 square. What is r2 square? That we already wrote. So if we follow the same procedure, same mathematical procedure, then similarly we can show that 1 by r2 is equal to 1 by r minus, instead of plus, what I write? Minus, because while calculating r2 we took the angle as equal to 180 minus theta. While calculating r1 we took the angle as equal to theta. Therefore 1 by r minus a by r square into cos theta. So if we use the equation of r2 square, which is not here, I erased that, then we get this equation. Now all that I need to do is substitute for 1 over r1 and 1 over r2 in this equation, means in equation 1. So if I substitute, what do I get? Let us see now. This equation becomes V equal to Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. Okay. Then what is R1? 1 over R1? 1 over R1 is nothing but 1 by R. 1 by R plus A by R square into cos theta. Okay. Minus is there, right? Minus. What is 1 by R2? 1 by R, open the bracket because minus sign is there. 1 by R minus A by R square into cos theta. Close the bracket. This is equal to now Q by 4 pi epsilon naught into 1 by R plus A by R square into cos theta. Minus into plus is minus, minus 1 by R, minus into minus, it is plus A by R square cos theta. So what is the term which get cancelled here? 1 by R and minus 1 by R get cancelled. Finally, this is Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught A by R square cos theta. One time A by R square cos theta, one more time A by R square cos theta, that is 2 times A by R square into cos theta. So I take Q inside. So if I do so, then I can write this as Q into 2A. That means I am going to group this with this 2A. So Q into 2A into cos theta divided by R square. What's the purpose of writing this in this form? Because very easily I can substitute for Q into 2A as equal to dipole moment 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q into 2A is nothing but dipole moment P. So P into cos theta divided by R square, where Q into 2A is equal to P is the dipole moment. So this is the expression for the electric potential at one of the arbitrary point P due to the electric dipole. See, due to single charge means if there is a charge Q at a point P which is at a distance R, what is the potential? V equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R. This is the equation that is used to arrive at the expression for the electric potential due to an electric dipole. So P cos theta divided by R square multiplied by 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught. See, if I mind, I can write this in vector form. Just for the sake of understanding, you remember this step. How means, I can write this P cos theta. If P cos theta is equal to P dot R, P dipole moment which is a vector quantity. What is R cap? R cap is the unit vector. What is its magnitude? It is equal to 1. So, where R cap equal to 1 is the unit vector. Suppose if I expand this, do I get back this P cos theta? Definitely. How? Look here, dot product of two vectors is written as product of magnitude of the two vectors. What is the magnitude of the vector P? It is only P. What is the magnitude of the unit vector R? It is only R. Then, since it is a dot product, which is the function, trigonometry function that appears in this dot product? Cos theta. But R value is equal to, R cap is equal to 1 means its magnitude is also equal to 1. So if I substitute R as equal to 1, then P into 1 into cos theta, which is nothing but P cos theta. So substitute for R as equal to 1, then P into 1 is P into cos theta, it will become P cos theta. So I can write this equation in this form also. V equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught P cos theta can be written as P dot R cap divided by R square. So this way also we can Right. Thank you.